Next, the property owner is sworn in response to the violation and evidence. Both the city and the property owner may call witnesses to provide sworn testimony relevant to the case. This is a quasi-judicial hearing, not a public forum. Individuals not called as sworn witnesses will not be heard.
My name is Wayne Flowers. I am Special Magistrate for the City of Jacksonville Beach. I'll be hearing these matters that are on the agenda today. Each case will be called individually, and I see Mr. Dick is here, and I don't see anybody else, so I'm going to assume that Mr. Dick will probably be giving testimony on this case. When the time comes, you'll be given an opportunity to testify or be sworn in.
Yes, sir.
Behind raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And if you state your name and occupation for the record.
Nikki Beaver, City of Jacks Beach Code Enforcement Officer.
Okay, Ms. Beavers, why don't you proceed? And I assume that we are here on case numbers 2059 and 325.
Yes, sir. Okay. This is for Coastal Home Enterprises, LLC, located at 922 South 9th Street, Jacksonville Beach. The previous case included 2 other violations. Those violations have been complied, but the last one was the permit procedures for the wall sign that is on the building that is still in violation. This is from the case initiation, and as of today, the sign still remains. Mr. Dick did submit a permit application. That permit application was rejected due to issues with the paperwork. The sign also exceeds the allowable square footage that is allowed, and then the building that the sign is on basically does not exist in the planning division because there was no finalization of the finalization inspection completed. So those are 3 of the reasons why that was rejected. Mr. Dick has not resubmitted sufficient application.
So let's back up for a second.
Okay.
You said that there were 2 items that compliance was achieved on. And what 2 were those?
On this case, it was the prohibited signs. That was for the banner sign that was out.
So banner signs removed.
Yes. Since then, a frame sign was also placed out that falls up under prohibited signs. That sign was not observed today, as you can see in the picture. So, and another violation notice had been sent out about the A-frame. So, but those 2 violations were complied with. It was the permit procedures that's still in non-compliance.
And the order that was entered back from the hearing in May required Mr. Dick to obtain permit for the painted sign to file an application for the permit within 30 days.
Correct.
Did he file an application within 30 days?
He did file the application. That application was it was received on 6/14/2021. And as I stated, that application was rejected.
When you say rejected, I mean, what?
It was insufficient. It was insufficient. One, the notarization was illegal on there due to the person having a financial stake in the business. The other reason was the sign exceeded the allowable square footage. And then the third reason was the building pretty much does not exist in the planning division due to not receiving that finalization inspection. And no resubmittal has not been received in our office.
Right. So number 1 was there was some problem
With the
with
notarization.
Number 2,
allowable square footage.
And what is the allowable square footage?
It was the 4 square feet, yeah.
Hold on a second. So tell me again what you said.
4 square feet. 4 square feet,
4 square feet,
yes,
like 2 feet by 2 feet?
yes.
Is there a process for exception or variance to allow a larger sign?
He could apply for a variance. It would be up to the BOA, the, Board of Adjustments. 9 times out of 10, that would not be approved.
Well, that's not my question.
Yeah.
My question is potentially that.
He can apply for a variance.
What is, so the ordinance has an absolute limit. 4 square feet is not a limit, it's on the size of the building or anything like that. It's an absolute 4 square feet.
Correct.
And the third reason you said is the building, there's some problem with the permitting on the building.
The final inspections were never, scheduled and completed by our office.
Okay. When was the permit issued for this building?
I don't have the permit directly in front of me, but I wanna say this was issued back in
17.
2017, yeah.
Tell me what the owner was required to do when the construction was completed.
He would have needed to contact our office to schedule a finalization.
Is that something you can still do?
I can let David is with our building department, he can answer that.
Yeah. Stand up, you'll need to be sworn and tell us your name.
If I could have you raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? If you could state your name and occupation for the record, please.
David Martin, building inspector.
Okay, Mr. Martin, my question was, is this final inspection something that could still be taken care of?
He would have to reapply to reopen the permit, either reapply for a new permit or reopen the old permit. The permit is no longer valid after 180 days. So, without that final certificate of, final occupancy certificate, that permit is no longer valid and the structure would have to be reopened.
Your department has been involved in this property for several months now. Is there a reason why you wouldn't have brought that to Mr. Dick's attention when you first started interacting with him on violations?
He has been made aware.
When was he made aware?
It was verbally in our office. I don't have the specific dates of when it was actually brought to his attention, but as part of the permitting process, he's also notified at that time that what the steps are when it comes to, the construction of a building.
So you, just to make clear, what you're telling me is that prior to him making the application in compliance with the order that I entered for the hearing back in May, he had been advised that there was no final inspection ever done on the building. He needed to take care of that in some fashion.
So when the case was actually opened, I don't handle the part as far as the permitting, but once I start getting more documentation and records from our clerks and our permitting department, that's when the remaining issues pretty much came about as far as what was not done, with the construction of the building, as far as the inspections.
But again, what I'm trying to understand is that
So when
you
he
told me a
was,
minute ago that you had some meeting and verbally he was told he needed to do that. Did that meeting occur after the application was filed for the sign or before?
No, that was before, so that's when he received the notice of the violation of the permit procedures. Yeah, so the permit violation was actually issued, at 3/19/20. Then the application was received 6/14/2021.
If I may.
So did that verbal warning occur before we had that hearing back on May 26th?
If I may, Steve.
Yes, sir.
So what happened, what the process was, is when Nikki went out last year, and found that there was an infraction with the sign, she reported it, she brought it back to the office, we then started looking at, you know, the ordinance and to see, and then that's when we uncovered at the same time that the barn had not been fully permitted. So that's when we told it back to Nikki, and when the gentleman came in and she was addressing the sign issue initially, the first time, is when he was notified that that was also not finalized. So it was last year in 2020, the beginning of last year, so it was way prior to the meeting we had here.
He's not presently being cited for a code violation related to the building permit, is he?
No. That would be a whole nother case, outside of all of this.
All right, is there anything else? Ms. Beavers or Mr. Martin?
Yeah.
What is what's code enforcement recommending?
My recommendation would be that, Mr. Dick resubmit a sufficient application within the next 15 days. If not, a $250 per day fine until the sign has been removed.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Mr. Dick, you want to, I believe he had his hand up when you did the swearing in, did you want to?
I'll do it again on the recording, that's fine.
If I can have you raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And if I can have you state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is David Dick. I own the property at 922 9th Street South for Coastal Home Enterprises.
Okay, Mr. Dick, you've heard Ms. Beavers and Mr. Martin.
I have.
I'll let you proceed now and tell me.
Can we swap out the screen so I can bring some stuff up for the record?
Absolutely. Now, I'll let you know that whatever you show us, if you want it in the record, it needs to be in the record. I'll need a hard copy of it.
100%. We've got a jump drive ready for you.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take the microphone over here so I can run through my screens, if that's all right. Okay, so it's news to me today to figure out why I'm here. We just got a violation and a notice to appear. So that's why I'm here. This is the first that I've heard about us being in violation for the permit. So what we have here, make sure this is coming up.
When you say you didn't know you were in violation of the permit, you're talking about the building permit?
When we got the notice of hearing, I was unsure what violation we were being brought in for because we've got so many. So what we've got, I don't know if you can see that on the screen or not, but I'm going to read it so that it's in the written, or it's in the recorded audio side of this. Let me see if I can blow this up to make it visible. All right.
Can you get the focus any better on that?
Yep, let's see what we got here.
Maybe it's just my eyes.
Well, it's both of us because I can't see it well either. But on or about March 15th, 2020, Nikki Beavers stumbled into my life, causing the absolute weaponization of power that we see today. She came in asking about 9mm ammunition at the beginning of the pandemic. I explained we had already posted that ammo was allocated for firearm purchases only due to the pandemic. She said, well, I work for the city. I thought that odd, but I assured her we would be getting future shipments in and to come back by. Then she said, I'm the code enforcement official for City of Jacksonville Beach. Again, it doesn't matter who you work for, ammo is still only allocated to purchases only. Only then did she say your signs are illegal. I asked if she was threatening me. She walked out the door after she said, we'll see. It just so happens that the person standing right next to her was a St. Johns County Fire Department chief. He looked at me and was like, did that really happen? We discussed how unprofessional and illegal what she'd just done was. Miss Beavers gets back in her city-issued vehicle, leaves my parking lot, comes right back in and re-enters the building. She says, your signs are illegal. I asked again if she was threatening me. Her answer, we'll see. And wouldn't you know it, this is a Thursday afternoon. When we come to work on Monday morning, we received 3 sign violations, one for a flutter flag, one for my coastal defense banner, and another for the painted sign on my building. All these signs have been on my building since 2015 and forward. Not one of them have ever been an issue nor caused a problem with the city. Only after Nikki Beavers tried to extort my business for ammunition on city time in a city vehicle, which are all illegal, I called the building department because I was angry. I spoke with the chief building official, George Knight, and he told me to take down my flutter flag, which we did. So we complied, removed the flutter flag as instructed. We did not hear another word for 12 months. Fast forward 12 months, on April 5th, we received 2 more sign violations. One for my coastal defense flag that's been up since 2017, and another for the coastal painting on my permitted pole barn. It's been there for 3 years. We requested a hearing on the 1-year anniversary violations because this is nothing more than a city employee using their position to attack a business for having the audacity to inform the world that she's corrupt and she's using her position in the city for personal gain. I've spoken to 4 other business owners who tell me Nikki Beavers has done the same thing to them, and the only reason they comply is because they're afraid that she will do to them what she's doing to me. David Martin is now the one issuing violations of my business because I dare to expose the corruption happening in the building department. We have him on video slowly rolling past our business on multiple occasions with camera in hand, waiting for an opportunity to give us a violation. This is 100% defined and covered by our Department of Justice website, Rules of Conduct for Government Employees. Violation of these rules should be a swift and harsh punishment. If the DOJ is good with these definitions, I think the city of Jacks Beach should feel the same way. We will present multiple photos of other properties in the industrial section of Jacks Beach, as well as documentation from the DOJ website outlining the rules for government employees. Abuse of power is not difficult to see, but may be hard to prosecute, especially when you see the extent these folks have gone to attack my business. We are presenting about 30 different properties within a 5-block radius, only traveling 9th and 10th Street South. In the entire industrial district, there are only 3 businesses that have applied for a sign permit prior to this. Having a meeting to change the sign rules without it being posted prior and not allowing the taxpayers to attend is illegal, but that didn't stop them. They actually had a meeting during the height of COVID after I reported the abuse and filed a police report to change the sign regulations to then cover weekends because they couldn't violate my business until they changed the rules. We still have not been told why we're here other than we do know now. I have a pretty good idea. This is nothing more than a circus where Nikki Beavers gets to try and punish a business because we are unafraid to stand up to government abuse and expose the corruption. Ask yourself why a business with a 40-year track record in Jacksonville Beach with no violations would suddenly come up with 7 violations in a 3-month period. How is that possible? If they conveniently forget to show photos of these ridiculous violations, don't worry, I have plenty. Holding power over the community is a fragile thing. All it takes is one person to violate that trust. Nikki Beavers has violated that trust against multiple businesses. I'm here to stand up for them and myself at the same time. So, this is a statement that I submitted last time. This was Brian Mitzel, who just so happens to be the chief in a St. Augustine Fire Department. He was the one standing less than a foot away when this went down in my store. This has already been submitted to record.
There was an ongoing investigation into all of this that has been filed and said that it has been closed. So for Mr. Dick to pull all this back up again is irrelevant to the violations that he has been cited for. So for him to bring up that whole investigation that was insufficient and found to be false, I find it irrelevant to why we are here today.
Are you stating under oath that you did not try and get ammunition for my business on city time?
Sir, don't answer that question. We covered that. I understand exactly what you're saying. It is irrelevant to the violation, but I'm gonna allow Mr. Dick to say his piece.
So, again, that's what started this whole thing. This is the sign that's in violation. This is my gun store sign that's been out since 2017. Ms. Beavers told me this was illegal last time we were here. Let's go to,
Hold on a second.
yes,
That sign is no longer there. Is that right?
correct. We've pulled it down because we were told it was illegal.
Okay. Go ahead.
This is Beachscapes at 1122 9th Street South. This sign is the exact same material and exact same size as my coastal defense sign. At 1122 9th Street South, there has never been a sign permit issued. I went through a public records request for the city of Jacksonville Beach, and I pulled every address. I have 25 addresses in the Jacksonville Beach Industrial District. Out of those addresses, 3 have ever pulled a sign permit. 3. Across the street from me, this is the CrossFit literally across the street from me. They're telling me that my sign can only be 4 feet, and that's incorrect. You're allowed 1 square foot for every linear foot of the building on the sign, on the direction that the sign is facing. So if I'm trying to advertise for 9th Street South, my sign could be a total of 40 square feet. So this is the CrossFit building, literally a stone's throw away from my property. There has never been a sign permit at this building. They've done the same thing that I did. They painted the name of their business on the side of the building. And there's never been a sign permit applied for, issued, or closed. Night Electric, 908 11th Avenue South. No sign permit ever applied for. Nelligan Roofing, 910 11th Avenue South. No sign permit ever issued or applied for. Bolts and Bites, 937 11th Avenue South. No sign permit ever applied for or issued. The McHugh Businesses, 965 11th Avenue South. No sign permit ever applied for or given. Shore Roofing and Shore Collision, 929 12th Avenue South. No sign permit ever applied for or given. Jet Set Pets is one of the only businesses in this district that applied for a sign permit. Surfside Pools, no sign permit since they've been there. Florida Irrigation, actually owned by the city of Jacksonville Beach, no sign permit ever issued. Rocco's Body Shop, directly behind me, 816 10th Street South, no sign permit ever applied for. City of Jacksonville Beach Pollution Control, 910 10th Street South, no sign permit. Dynamic Drives and Design, 950A 10th Street South, no sign permit ever applied for. ASAP Towing, 722 10th Street South, no sign permit ever issued. I couldn't find this address for City of Jacksonville Beach. This is the A-frame sign that's in question that apparently I violated. It's a sign directing delivery drivers to go to the garage because my wife had COVID and she wasn't in the office. We had to have a way to get deliveries. You can see the sign is sitting on my porch. It's not in the street, it's not in the sidewalk. The only person that could see it would be a delivery driver that pulled up. If I'm in the back in the garage working or welding, I can't be in the office. And when my wife had COVID, she wasn't in the shop. So this is the other sign violation that I got in the last month. So we can keep going with all of the other businesses that are around that have never had a sign permit issued. If we go to my email, we did apply for the permit as instructed. When we go through my emails, this is not the correct one. There's a timeline of what we did, it was rejected. We went back, it was rejected. We went back, it was rejected. They kept moving the goalposts, and after 4 rejections, I gave up. So, based on the laws that City of Jacksonville Beach has, I'm allowed to have 100 square feet once my building is complete. Now, we did permit the pole barn in 2017. In 2018, we had a lot of turmoil happening, and I had a client not pay us over $100,000. So we had to stop the construction. I actually, on 8/16/21, this is me reaching out to the City of Jacksonville Beach. The headline is, that's my permit number, 17-1938, to reactivate and restart. So hopefully we can finish this entire building permit process. We can get this whole thing behind us and move on. But if I keep getting tagged with these frivolous violations, why am I going to continue to dump money back into this area? If I can't get the City of Jacksonville Beach to work with me, then I don't know what else to do.
What did you understand, Mr. Dick, as far as where the application stood, the last communication with the City of Jacksonville?
The last communication I got was that the notary stamp was wrong, and it was because she was dealing with COVID, and I was unaware that she could not sign it. So I need to retake that application to let somebody else notarize it so that we can move forward. The issue here is becoming, because the pole barn is not finalized. When that pole barn is finalized, based on the rules, I will be allowed to have 100 square feet of signage. When that's done, the sign that we're in violation for right now will be in compliance. All of that, once I finish the pole barn and once we get the permit process corrected, all of that will be legal and we can move on.
Are you prepared to do that?
Yes, we actually, again, here, 8/16, I reached out to the city to find out what else I needed to do so that we can move forward on the pole barn and get that closed out. I've been working with Chandra Medford, and she's been amazing.
Okay, Mr. Dick, anything else?
No, sir.
Thank you. Let me ask a couple questions first, and you can tell me whether Mr. Martin needs to answer.
Okay.
He showed us a lot of examples of places that certainly appear to require permits for the signs. I don't know what districts they're in, whether there's a requirement. I don't know if they're grandfathered in some fashion because they existed at some point before the ordinance went into effect. And I'm not going to ask you to go through it. And of course, I can't excuse compliance from Mr. Dick because there are other people that are not complying, but I do think it's fair to ask, what's happening with all those other folks.
I can answer that. So, what happens is first of all, Mr. Dick said that I was driving by slowly. It is a slow road, and then it's Southeast Market Coastal. Now, I was employed, to do something, and there's a lot of things going on in Jackson Beach with signage. We've had a problem with signage, it's starting to look like maybe the signs just exploding everywhere. So what happens is I came on to start something we call the Weekend Warrior Project. And I have a binder here where I keep a record of every single time I go out on the weekends and notice signs. I started this in February of 2020. Since February of 2020, the first weekend I found 15 signs, and none of them were Mr. Dick. Joint Chiropractic Milano's, several of these people that I found, we've already brought to Magistrate. Julia Bistro, you've seen some of these people in there. So you know we're bringing people up for signs. We're not just, Mr. Dick's making it sound like we're just picking on him when I have a folder here that says that's not the case. I did not cite Mr. Dick myself personally until the weekend of April 3rd and 4th. I cited him for signs in the right of way. And along with him, there were 5 other people on that weekend that I cited. And then probably 2 months later, on May 1st and 2nd, I noticed the signs were back out in the right of way, so I cited it again. It is my job to drive by when it's on a busy road like that. I didn't feel comfortable with the confrontation that Mr. Dick had with Nikki Beavers. He's very confrontational. I didn't feel comfortable getting out and actually taking a photo because he's a gun store. He's very confrontational, very aggressive.
Let's keep it just.
I am. So I just, as I'm driving by, I take a picture of the sign, which I keep photos of all the signs in my book, just for record. So I do this for everyone. I don't just get out and go up and take a picture. Sometimes I drive by and I take a picture. So that's the reason that I was driving by slowly taking photos of the signs. I have an entire booklet here, like I said, of signs that people we brought to you and other signs. So we're not just picking on him. We're trying to clean up Jacksonville Beach with these signs. We haven't hit everybody. You can't get everybody. We're trying to do what we can. The people that he brought up, some of them we have documentation where we've sent them letters and they brought them into compliance. So we have documentation for some of those people, and some of them we don't. We can't. It's a slow process. But we're not just picking on Mr. Dick. I have a whole year and a half's worth of documentation here to prove that.
Let me ask another question. He said that he's allowed 100 square feet. The building is,
It's one square foot of sign per 100 square foot of space.
And may I say something as well? Mr. Dick already had another building that was on the property, which he has met that square footage allowance. As you can see, the postal sign is right above the phone number. I don't have those other pictures from the previous times we've been here that shows the entire building all the way around, but there is a sign on every side of this lower building. So this is all considered one unit and not 2 separate units as far as this signage on the property. And that's where the building official stated that he is already exceeded with this sign on the pole barn, that he's exceeding the sign per square footage, well, the square footage of the sign.
okay, let me back up a second though. In terms of, you said 1 square foot for every 100 square feet, is that floor space?
Yes, sir.
Building?
Excuse me, frontage.
I'm sorry?
1 square foot per sign, lineal square foot of the frontage, the building frontage.
So that's frontage on a property owner or frontage of the building?
Frontage of the building, basically the front of the building. And the purpose of that ordinance is to keep the signs uniform. So if you have a shopping plaza and you have one sign that's this size and you have the rest of them that are small, it looks out of place. So we're trying to, the purpose of the ordinance is to keep everything uniform.
But would a property owner be allowed, multiple signs on the building if cumulatively it did not exceed, the size of the signs didn't exceed the 1 square foot per linear?
So I can answer that based off of my conversation with Chandra Medford, being that Mr. Dick is on a corner, he faces the lower building faces 3 different streets. So you have this one that is facing one street, the side building is facing 9th Street, and then the rear of the building is also facing another street that's behind him. So when you have the sign that's on the pole barn, that shows he has now 2 signs facing 9th Street.
I'm not sure that which answer my question is would he be permitted to have more than 1 sign as long as the total size of the signs don't exceed the ratio of 1 foot to 100 feet of
And
building?
yes, that's what I'm saying, he has multiple signs.
I understand.
Yes, so that's why, that would be the reason why he would be allowed, because of the frontage is on 3 different sides facing 3. Am I answering what you're asking?
I think maybe you did, but you.
Because the answer is yes.
All right.
Yeah.
You said earlier that the sign, the largest it could be would be 4 square feet, I think is what you said. And what is that based on?
Well, the sign, for a business sign, it is 1 square foot, like, that sign can be 1 square foot per 100 square foot of lineal frontage.
Okay, again, I misunderstood you.
Yeah, I misunderstood the question as well.
So the ratio is 1 square foot of sign for every 100
100
square feet of lineal frontage?
Correct, which he could have multiple signs, that like the signs down bottom would probably be in compliance, no problem. It's the larger one up top that probably would not be in compliance because of the size of it.
And then he would have 2 that are
And it would be based on, would it be based on the largest building on the property or?
The frontage.
Or just what's on the front?
Just
So,
on the
because
front.
if there's a small building on the front that's 10 feet wide, I guess, along the front, then
Just based on that front.
essentially it's 1 square foot.
So it'd be a really small sign, it's based on the frontage.
When square feet of frontage, I guess I'm having a hard time understanding that concept.
So
Square feet of frontage.
lineal square feet, so the size of the front, so you have the front here like 100 square feet, like it's lineal square footage, like if you're doing a tile floor or a wood floor, it's lineal square footage, so it's the same as.
Can I help with that?
Yeah.
But based on, and again, I've read this, there's 66 pages in the sign regulations.
I know.
And they're on the right track, but just a little bit off. It says 1 square foot per linear foot of building frontage. So my building is 40 feet long on 9th Street. That would allow me 40 square feet of sign. Now, that's really not that big. It's a rather small footprint. My big coastal sign is oriented toward 10th Avenue South, because if you're on 9th Street, you can't see it. My building up front blocks it. So that sign is actually oriented to 10th Avenue South, and then my building is, as completed, will be 100 linear feet on 10th Avenue South. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio, 1 square foot for every linear foot of road facing.
Well, I'm not going to solve that issue today, but I'm just trying to understand, again, I think of 2 dimensions when I think of square footage. That's why you were just talking about linear, that's why I was having a hard time.
Correct, yeah, the language in the code itself is linear.
Okay. My last question, what I heard Mr. Dick say is that if I get the building in compliance, then allow X square feet. Still, you don't get that automatically, you still have to apply for the sign permit, is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
And that
But yes, that's correct.
exceeds
Okay.
the size limitations. So,
And again, I'll state for the record, I know Mr. Dick covered again the allegations that he made in the last hearing. And I know, and I think I stated in the last hearing, that the city did an investigation, did not find that there was any ethical violation. So we're not trying that case here today. Mr. Dick, anything else you want to add?
Yes, if we could, please, go ahead and mute that one. I've got a So, again, we're on the back and forth. This is an actual building that's been permitted. They actually have a signed permit. This is one block, would be south of me. This is Catopia and Fuzzy Butts. If you look at the building, and unfortunately it's blurry because I'm not a computer guy and I can't really get this right. But what you'll see here, let me get my, there's a sign right here. There's a sign right here. Both of these on the building for that frontage. And then there's a monument sign in the front. So that was permitted and allowed. So when we are talking about two signs on the front of a building, one block from me has been permitted, it's legal. I don't have a monument sign. And the reason I don't have a monument sign is like David said, I own a gun store. The last thing that I want to do is advertise that Monday through Friday. The sign that I had that I put out on the weekends and took in was to protect my stuff and Jack's Beach. We don't want a bunch of criminals rolling around, especially breaking into a gun store. So hiding that, that's why I don't have a monument sign. The signs that I have are within compliance the way that I read it, other than my building isn't complete.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Dick?
No.
Anything else? Okay. First of all, again, Mr. Dick, I can't absolve you of getting a permit.
Correct.
from complying with the sign because there are others that are out of compliance. I understand your frustration with that, and in my other life as an attorney, I kind of deal with those issues frequently.
Right.
Have similar frustrations where they occur, but again,
I just want help to get these permits active, moving forward, and closed out. That's all I want to do, is let's get it, whatever paperwork I need to do to get right, let's get it done and move on.
okay. And what I heard from Mr. Dick is that he is, understands and is ready to move forward with getting the building issue resolved.
And I'll be happy to be a liaison with that.
I'm sorry?
I'll be happy to be a liaison with that. We're not here to prosecute people, we just want to get people into compliance. I feel bad for him because he can't have his sign out, because a lot of people do put them out. But it's fair for everybody, so, but maybe a monument sign, but he's right, that if he advertises that, then it's like.
Yeah, it's dangerous. 100%.
Let me ask one question about that, is, if he had a monument sign for Coastal, not for the gun shop, how does that affect does that further limit his square footage on the building?
He was
No.
told that he could apply for a monument sign, and just like the businesses that he has shown, Mr. Dick does not know whether they're in compliance or not. So, as far as him showing all these different businesses, if they were in, non-compliant, they have been cited. For those that were, the ones that, cause he showed several that are actually compliant. But he was allowed to apply, that he was encouraged to apply for a monument sign. Now, what he puts on the sign,
Okay, we don't really need to talk about that. I just was asking the question because, then, my thought was to get additional signage for Coastal, not for the gun shop.
Right.
Could he do that without, limiting his amount?
There actually
well,
comes,
that's what I said, it depends on what he puts on
You
the
said
sign.
yes.
there's an issue with the monument sign, especially on my property, and that's visibility. If I put a monument sign where I'm allowed to, traffic is gonna be a nightmare, so,
And I'm not suggesting you should do
Right,
one or another, I
right.
just asking the question.
Well, and also, if, with his signage up there now, if he puts, to his defense, if he puts a monument sign that just says Coastal out there, they're gonna think it's for the AC business or something else. They're not gonna, it's hard for him because he wants to advertise his gun store, but he can't really without putting a permanent monument sign that's gonna cause him probably some break-ins. But then if he just adds Coastal, somebody just might think it might be just the Coastal AC. So
We get that a lot.
Kind of stuck.
Yep.
It's kind of stuck. I don't know what the right answer is.
Well, here's what I'm gonna do, within the limited authority I have. That is, I'm gonna give 60 days. The initial order said 30 days. We did make some effort. There's a new issue, as I understand it, that, again, was not at least mentioned in the last hearing. And, again, the city says that he revised of it, but regardless, I wasn't aware of it.
Well, like he stated that he received the violation notice back in April. He applied for the permit in June. So this is not his first time hearing about it. If he was notified in April and submitted a permit application in June, so the notice that you got today, that doesn't.
I'm talking about me.
Oh, okay.
Because I might have done something different if I knew he also had to go through that process. I might have said 60 days or 90 days. I don't know,
Okay,
because I didn't know that to get the permit, there was a separate compliance issue he had to deal with. It wasn't before me.
Okay.
So what I'm gonna do is give 60 days, for you to obtain permits, which would include, getting the compliance with the building and then a permit for the sign. Now, I can't guarantee you that you're gonna get the sign for the square footage that you think you're entitled to. All I can do is give time to complete that process.
If David's willing to be a liaison and help me get this through, I don't think there's any reason why we can't.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that, Mr. Martin, and we'll hold hands and hopefully, see if we can get this one put to bed. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Dick.
Thank you.
Do you have a thumb drive for us?
Yep.
So we will come back for the December